In late 14th century, when the Ottoman Empire ruled Turkey, young Christian boys were plundered during raids and taken back to Istanbul as gifts to the Sultan. They were enslaved, forbidden to marry and trained to fight. Loyal only to the emperor, these boys were brought up with a single purpose: to kill and secure the power of the Ottoman Empire. The Ottomans called these boys janissaries, a group of mercenaries with remarkable fighting skills. Over time, these fighters became a formidable force. They played a decisive role in the fall of Constantinople, the defeat of the Egyptian Mamluks, and the Iranian Safavids. Now the Ottomans are long gone, their empires have perished, but their methods prevail. The janissaries still exist. Only now they're called private armies, political soldiers loyal not to the state, but to a regime and its leader. They fight as proxies in shadow wars, serve as private militia. They're used to commit violations and protect leaders in case of a coup. Hello and welcome to Gravitas Plus. I'm Palki Sharma Upadhyay. Private armies are a multi-billion-dollar industry, proliferating in every domain of war and used by both governments and non-state actors. What are private armies? They're simply soldiers for hire, mercenaries who fight wars for money. They work for independent contractors who mirror the tasks of regular armies, but without any official oversight. Meaning, they're accountable not to the state, but to their employer. They're motivated not by patriotism, but by profit. Responsibilities, regulations, transparency, political consent, human rights, private armies are not bound by any of these. And that's why they thrive. To fight wars, immoral wars, to kill without the fear of accountability. Who uses them? The United States has aced this game. During its global war on terror, America hired several military contractors to shield US Marines from public scrutiny. Chief among them was Academy, also known as Blackwater. It's a private military company formed by a former US Navy SEAL. Blackwater has been in the headlines for war crimes in Iraq, like the 2006 killing of 3 guards at the Iraqi media network, the 2007 massacre of 17 Iraqi civilians in Baghdad's Nisour Square, and the 2008 killings of 14 unarmed civilians, again in Baghdad. Blackwater was America's dirty works department, a tool to keep its Marines unblemished. Its success gave birth to several private military companies globally. Many governments began outsourcing military operations to help their armies evade accountability. Russia was one of them. You may have heard of the Wagner Group. It's a private Russian military company owned by a businessman with close links to Vladimir Putin. Much like America and Blackwater, Moscow uses the Wagner Group to maintain deniability in conflicts, from the civil war in Syria to the Donbas war in Ukraine, and even covert military operations in Africa. Private armies are becoming big business. How big? Constellis, an American security contractor, made $1.4 billion in 2020. G4S, a British private security company, made $11 billion in 2019. Both America and Britain use these companies for covert military operations. This is problematic as it is, but it gets worse. It gets worse when private armies are used to train terrorists. Case in point, SADAT International, the first and only private military company in Turkey, an extension of sorts of the Turkish security apparatus, accountable to no one but the Turkish president, Recep Tayyip Erdogan. SADAT International helps Erdogan further his military agenda, achieve his political ambitions, and fulfill his fantasies of recreating the Ottoman Empire. Based in Istanbul, the organization was formed by this man, Brigadier General Adnan Tanriverdi. He was a member of Turkey's Special Warfare Unit. But in the 1990s, he was expelled from military service for having extremist and political Islamic tendencies. In 2012, this man, along with 22 others who were also expelled for Islamist leanings, formed SADAT International. SADAT's manifesto betrays these leanings. It says they aspire to be an alternative to what they call colonist countries of crusade mentality. It says in the long term, the company will, and I'm quoting from what they've said, contribute to the emergence of the world of Islam as a superpower and promote defense cooperation among Islamic countries. And that's exactly what this organization does. It operates in Islamic countries across West Asia and Africa, providing muscle, training, weapons, and advice to rebels, militants, and terrorists. All of them use SADAT mercenaries in exchange for money or support. These mercenaries are sent to fight in Libya, Azerbaijan, Mali, Somalia, Yemen, Qatar, Lebanon. Every country where Turkey wants to intervene, it uses this private army. This army acts as a force multiplier. It trains Turkey's clients in ambush, sabotage, assassination, raids, roadblocks, kidnappings, and operational techniques that can be used in case of a protest, a war, or a coup. Consider Syria. When the Syrian war began in 2011, SADAT acted as a facilitator between Turkey and Syrian proxy fighters. It provided services which the Turkish military could not under international law, like actively training Islamist jihadists, teaching them how to use weapons, or carrying out a terror attack. According to the American Enterprise Institute, these jihadists have gone on to fight for some of the most dreaded terror outfits: Al-Nusra, Al-Qaeda, even the Islamic State. Then we have the Syrian rebel groups, the ones fighting the Bashar al-Assad regime. Turkey supports them to keep favorable demographics on its borders. Reports suggest that several rebel groups in Syria go by Turkish names and raise Ottoman flags. Turkey controls them, selects leaders for them, trains them militarily, supplies them with weapons, defines their battles, and pays their salaries. In return, they act as Turkey's proxies, fighting its shadow wars. In October 2020, Turkish mercenaries were also spotted in Azerbaijan. They fought as Turkish proxies in the Nagorno-Karabakh conflict. A report by the UN Working Group affirmed their role, as did an Armenian investigative group, which said that these fighters were transported to Azerbaijan from Syria on planes operated by SADAT International. Syrian fighters hired by Turkey were also sent to Afghanistan. In July last year, when the Taliban took over, the Syrian Observatory for Human Rights reported this. And I'm quoting, Syrian fighters were transferred to Afghanistan under official contracts with a private security company. This one, SADAT International. We told you about its founder, Adnan Tanriverdi. He has known the Turkish president since 1994. Erdogan was the mayor of Istanbul at the time, and this man was a commander of a military base. They forged a strong relationship. In 2016, when there was a coup attempt in Turkey, Tanriverdi's company is said to have helped Erdogan. In return, Erdogan made him his chief military advisor, a position that he had to step down from in 2019, because in December 2019, the man who founded SADAT International attended the Third International Islamic Union Congress, where he said, and I'm quoting, listen to this carefully, "Will Islam ever unite? How will it happen when the Mahdi arrives? When does the Mahdi arrive? Only God knows. So do we not have a duty? Should we not prepare the conditions for the Mahdi's arrival? This is precisely what we are doing." This statement is not a slip of tongue. On Sadat's website, this man personally advocates the ideal of pan-Islamic unity of the Muslim Ummah before the arrival of Imam Mahdi, the chosen prophet. He envisions a world where every Muslim state becomes a self-sufficient military power. He wants them to build a NATO-like military alliance against, quote-unquote, the enemies of Islam. What does this tell you? President Erdogan has a private military system to fight countries that Turkey considers to be enemies of Islam. This is a dangerous trend. The Americans started it, the world adopted it, and Turkey has given a religious spin to it. This is a potential threat to the security of non-Islamic countries across Asia and Africa. Where does international law stand on this? The Geneva Convention criminalizes mercenaries, yet international bodies have done nothing to disband private armies. Why? Because countries in the UN Security Council with veto powers on international law are busy building their own private armies.